Our next speaker is Steve Fischer, and Steve is a friend from down south. Is one of our bar candidates last time, which is an interesting story in and of itself. He didn't win, even though I backed him and thought he should. And I think that Steve has some interesting things to tell about not only bar politics, but why it's important for each one of us to keep an eye on what goes on with our state bar and how we all need to be involved on some level. Steve's bioinformation is in the program, and we're going to move this rapidly. So, Mr. Fischer, the podium's yours.
While they're setting up, I'm not really here just to speak about the state bar at all. I'm not here to speak about personal injury. Just Bob invited me, and what I decided to do is just sort of a buffet of the different presentations I've given over the year. And I really want it to be interactive, so just interrupt me, shout at me, ask me a question. I know a couple people said, "Oh, I have questions for you." And the different topics are bar demographics. I do demographics for the bar. Some stuff about the state bar, some stuff about personal injury caseloads. I added that when I found out what we're going to talk about. Usually I've had a disaster when I speak. Last time the tech didn't work. Another time I was escorted out by the security guards because I was getting signatures for my bar petition, even though, they said you don't have freedom of speech in a public area. I go, what? But at any rate, this is something about the Houston. I assume most of you guys are here from Houston. If you look at the people who practice in Houston, it's pretty much the same as the rest of the state. The bar is 2/3 male, 1/3 female. Everything's pretty similar except areas of practice. In Houston, there's probably twice as many people that do oil and gas, and about 25% higher percentage of people that do personal injury. This is where attorneys went to law school in the state in general. It's a little bit different from Houston. Obviously, I think I got it. I think I can use this thing on the bottom. It's football season, so I know a lot of people have interest. Obviously, the orange is UT, if it comes out right. Most lawyers either went out of state, about a quarter of them, or a little bit less than that to UT. In Houston, it's a little bit different, and that's just because of geography, in my opinion. People who live in Houston, they grow up in Houston, they want to go to a Houston law school. I'm going to go through this fairly quickly. This is salaries around the country. You'll see that Houston and Dallas, although they're in the high category, they're very similar. It's only about an average of about $1,000 more a year. What's interesting is there's places in Texas where the salaries are pretty low, and they might be adjoining an area where the salaries are relatively high. I assume that you were given the article I wrote. I'm not going to go over this too much. I get a lot of, when I was running for bar president, just in general, I got a lot of people saying, there's too many lawyers. Where can I go practice? Where should I move to? And I get a lot of calls on that. And so I've tried to do some demographics. It's more in the article. Some counties are just literally too many attorneys. The ratios of attorneys to people are very high ratio of attorneys, and the counties aren't even growing. So you can look at my article. There's more on that. This basically has attorneys per county. We have about 21,600 attorneys in Harris County, and it grows pretty much in line with the population. There's other counties that are growing much faster as far as their attorney population, and that's like most of the suburban counties. And there's 7 or 8 counties that have no lawyer at all. And I always thought that was interesting. What do they do? But I guess people come from other counties to do law. This one, it's what I thought demographically were counties of opportunity, where they might be growing, the counties might be growing, but the attorney population is declining. And you have that in a lot of suburban and rural counties. And what happens is people that they're older, they're retiring, They may have had kids that go to law school, but those kids aren't coming back. They're staying in Austin or Houston, and they're just not coming back. Okay, here's something I did just for here. You know, there's a lot of talk about David Chamberlain. He's also a bar director with me. Goes around the state saying, you know, the future of civil litigation is really going to be tough for generations of new lawyers. This is the personal injury cases. I separated them by vehicle and non-vehicle. You can see there's a general trend. You know, for motor vehicle, it's pretty level. I think I have a graph on that. But what you have to take into account is the variables. There's a lot more lawyers now, so there are less cases per lawyer than there have been in the future. I'm not sure why. I broke it down one more way, though, and that's jury trials. And jury trials around the state have really gone down. You can see that. You know, there's just non-vehicle jury trials are about half what they were 10 years ago. And I know you all have reasons for why that is. Here's a graph of it. The red is actually all jury trials for personal injury. And once again, it's gotten pretty low. I don't know what to recommend on that. For certain areas of law, you can predict the future. You can look at criminal law and see if there's going to be more criminal law cases in a certain area by one thing, not how tough the DA says he is, or you know whether it's Republicans or Democrats, by the age of the population. If you see a county with a very large young population, 18 to 24, there's going to be more crime. The next topic was asked of me by the Austin Bar Association, and they wanted more about demographics and social media in politics. So I grabbed a few videos. I thought, you know, for a lunch thing, that would be more entertaining than me speaking. This was voted the best political commercial of all time, and I just hope I can play it. And let's see, is the volume up?
I'm for president, I'm for president, I'm for president, I'm for president. You like Ike, I like Ike, everybody likes Ike for president. Hang out the banner, beat the drum, we'll take Ike to Washington. We don't want John, Hardy, or Harry, let's do that big job right. Let's get in step with the guy that said, get in step with Ike. You like Ike, I like Ike, everybody likes Ike for president. Hang out the banner, beat the drum, we'll take Ike to Washington. We got to get where we are going. Travel day and night for president, and the late go the other way. We'll all go with Ike. You like Ike, I like Ike, everybody likes Ike for president. Hang out the banner, beat the drum, we'll take Ike to Washington. We'll take Ike to Washington.
This one, it's gotten so sophisticated. My 18-year-old did this one here, and it was to rally people. He was president of UDEMS at UT Austin, and okay. This was a recruitment commercial.
I'm state representative of HSTAT, University Democrats. They're the engine that organizes students and others to be meaningfully involved in the political process.
Okay, because of time, I won't play the whole thing. Yeah, he's not 18 now, but he always gives me hell about my political opinions. But you know, the kids are getting really sophisticated about what they can do. Here's the opposite. Here's somebody running for office and makes a big mess. This is also, among commentators, voted one of the worst speeches of all time. And let's see if we can get him on here.
Ladies and gentlemen of the Stark County Republican Party Executive Committee, good evening. And thank you, not only for your attendance, but for allowing me the opportunity to speak. My name is Phil Davison, and I am seeking our party's nomination for the position of Stark County Treasurer on November 10th, November of 2010, excuse me. In terms of my background, I am from the village of Minerva, where I'm serving my 13th year of elected service as a Minerva Council member. In terms of education, I have a bachelor's degree in sociology, a bachelor's degree in history, a master's degree in public administration, and a master's degree in communication. In terms of elections across Stark County, I have represented our party twice on the county ballot in both the primary and the general elections. But I ran for Stark County Clerk of Courts in 1996 and Stark County Commissioner in 2000, and I will not apologize for my tone tonight. I have been a Republican in times good, and I have been a Republican in times bad. Albert Einstein issued one of my most favorite quotes in the history of the spoken word, and it is as follows. In the middle of opportunity, excuse me, in the middle of difficulty lies opportunity. I'm going to repeat that so I have clarity tonight. In the middle of difficulty lies opportunity. This is the opportunity we've been waiting for.
No, I think that's enough of that opportunity. Okay. I don't know. I forgot where that comment. I'll talk a little bit about the State Bar. These are the State Bar districts. I really think that the State Bar has so much money, and really people should get involved. I saw the redistricting, and the State Bar has it so that one district has 808 attorneys, another one has 4,900. So I drew a better plan, and they said, "But Steve, how does this fit in with our gentlemen's agreements?" And I didn't even know what they were, but there's a certain bunch of agreements. Certain people shouldn't be running, and you don't challenge the president of your area bar when they run. And so this one had it pretty even. But Houston has its own district, has plenty of seats. Every year there's somebody that can run from Houston, and it's really a good job. Here is a basic budget. The bar likes to say, and I give them credit for it, that they haven't raised the dues in years, and they haven't. They've raised some of the other fees, but what happens is every year we get 2,300 more attorneys after deaths and retirements, and of course we're getting these new law schools starting up. North Texas is starting now with about 300 or 400 people, and I've always asked the bar, I said, please, we ought to say something about all these new lawyers because there may not be enough work for them. But each lawyer, pays bar dues and goes to CLE. So we make, looks like about, 19 million on dues. I think on bar dues, on fees, we're going to get another 16 million. So we do have plenty of money. I've been asked, to try to reform. I'm still a director, and I'm trying to reform some of the things that the bar has done. We have a very closed process of running for bar president. I mean, it's a committee. Some of them aren't even lawyers. They meet in private. You're not allowed to observe. There's no record of it. And so I have something coming up next week, which I'm not going to say is going to pass, but where anybody can run for bar president if they're in good standing, if they've served on a committee, if they get 1,000 signatures. I had to get 5,000, and I actually got 6,000, and I liked it. I really like going around the state, talking to lawyers, standing in front of courthouses. But I know they won't like this idea. But with 1,000 people, then someone can run for bar president. That's not, part of their inner circle. And I really believe that the bar should open up. I mean, since my election, or since that election, I've gotten probably several thousand more people on Facebook and on these other networking sites, and there's a lot of people really angry. If the bar had an election now over whether it be voluntary or mandatory, a couple of years ago a poll had it about 50-50, but I don't think there'd be much chance for it, for the voluntary bar. I'll get into this in a minute. There is I also, one of the editors of the Bar Journal, I said, you know, before I say this, let me just ask you this. I'm going to ask you in 3 different categories about whether you read the Texas Bar Journal. Number one would be if you read it pretty much cover to cover, you know, not every article. 2, you don't read it at all. Or 3, you look through, you look at the disbarments and obituaries, you know. I've done this before. How many of you, just by raising your hands, think that you read pretty much through the whole thing, you know, cutting out a couple of articles? How many would you say read that? Judge Chris and Barbara? Okay, about 3 or 4. How many of you read the obituaries, the disbarments, and you know, okay. And how many of you just throw the thing in the garbage? You know, maybe look at it for a minute or 2 and throw. And you know, this is what I get no matter what group, whether I'm speaking to criminal lawyers or family lawyers. And I've tried. I go to the meetings and I say, look, people are not reading this magazine. You know, let's do some. Let's bring back a Jerry Bookmeyer type column. You guys remember that? That was really good. You know, we can do that, and people read it. And that is one of the things that we're in agreement on. So we will have something like that. And I said, for some of these issues, you know, let's have something that affects all lawyers. I like the board that does this because they're very tough, but they're fair about the articles that they submit. You know, we'll get about 17 or 18 submissions, and about 15 of them will be rejected. But I wanted one on whether the bar should be voluntarily or non-voluntary on the Sunset Commission, and they said we don't want to give people that choice. But I think it could be good arguments on both sides. I believe in the bar the way it is with reform, but I'm probably in the minority now. Okay, the other thing a lot of people wanted me to talk about was like Facebook and some of the networking groups. I started a bunch of them. This one has about 600 lawyers. It's Texas Civil Litigation Discussion Group. A lot of people are afraid of Facebook, but you can adjust your privacy settings. You can really, if you don't want people to know who you are or what you're saying, you can do that. But this discusses cases, situations, the law, CLE programs. It's not as active as family lawyers, but still has about 530 attorneys. Texas Family Lawyers now has over 1,000. If you do any family law at all, and you put in a question, I have to go to court tomorrow, and I have this and this situation, you'll get 5 or 10 people within an hour that will respond and say, here it is, you know. And I think we ought to widen our scope. People come in and they're running for judge. I'm bombarded by people wanting to run for things. And maybe that group ought to do things like endorse. This is sort of a notorious group, Make the State Bar Relevant. It's often critical of the State Bar, and the State Bar doesn't like it. But it has about 1,550 lawyers, and we discuss all kinds of things, all kinds of viewpoints. There's actually a lot of establishment bar directors that are on there. For your own organization, it's really easy to create a Facebook page. LinkedIn, a lot of people use that. You know, these endorsement things are ridiculous. I am the most endorsed civil litigator in the state, which sounds cool, except I've only done about 3 or 4 cases in my whole life, and I have to get schooled every time I have a trial. But you know, it's nice to know. So that doesn't mean anything, but the connections are good. Texas Bar Circle, the bar tried to start it up. It has so many flaws. I can't really recommend it. I say I only have a couple of minutes. The last thing I want to tell you is something that I think may be useful for you. It's called TLO.com. It's an investigatory site. They're very cheap, $5 per person for investigating, and they always give you free ones. This is so precise, I can go in there and I put myself in there, and it tells me every place I've ever lived, including places I long ago forgot. It tells me who I've associated with is actually for another person. All my associates, you know, driver's license, taxes, any bills I didn't pay. It's pretty good. I think I'm done on that. It's called TLO. and it's just it's large. It's really good. I did the first investigation I did. I got 120 pages of information on a person. So, you know, they're very careful about, you know, they give you an interview. They're very careful about what you can do. I said, well, can I look up an old friend? I tried to say, no, you can't do that. I go, can I look up my opponents for bar president? They go, no, you can't do that. But you can do a lot with it. Are there any questions? I'm really pretty near out of time. Rob?
The Texas Bar's Affinity Circle forums, which you just referred to, they were functioning really well right up until the time when you got enough signatures to qualify for the bar election. And I was just wondering, is that merely coincidental, or are the anti-reformers at the bar really that favored?
I actually think it probably was. It was always running bad, so I don't know. You know, there's two other bar reforms that we were trying to do. One is to allow judges and other elected officials, if they want, run for a bar office. And the last one I just ditched. It was to try to make the campaigns clean. Bar campaigns for years were boring, but they were clean. And in the last election, there were all kinds of things, out of context statements. And so I wrote something up for the bar, and my friends immediately dubbed it after Sorrell's and Benny Augusto, and something really nasty. And then they said, well, look, you know, we want our chance when they run to go after them. So that's the one sad thing about the election, is I don't think there'll be clean bar elections in the future unless they're just the boring Tweedledee, Tweedledum ones. But at any rate, there's no more questions. Thank you so much.